Hi, welcome back to Reiki Rocks and Reflections. This is where we talk about ancient and contemporary ways to use crystals and Reiki in our everyday lives. I'm your host, Lainey Wu. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm really excited. We have a returning special guest, Arin Dosch. I said it right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Arin, I'm so excited. Arin came on the podcast, I don't know how, it wasn't last year, and was so gracious to share some things in my chart that were like spot on. And I appreciate that. And so I thought it would be a great idea to have her come back this year to share some more things, but also just to reflect on some of the things that she shared with us last year. And of course, we're going to interject all of our crystal allies that have helped us or that have helped me in the past year, and things. And also allies that can help us with things that are coming up. And as promised, she said that she would come back and share with us her horary astrology that she does. So she's going to do that. So I'm so excited that she's going to come back and share that with us. So welcome, Arin. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Lainey. I always have a great time when we chat.
Yes,
So I'm happy to be here. It's a
yes.
pleasure.
So let me just refresh everyone on you. So Arin is returning back, and Arin is a consulting astrologer and specializing in traditional and Hellenistic techniques with a practice rooted in clarity, integrity, and devotion. She began her studies in 2017 and has been a tutor with Nightlight Astrology since 2021. And her work is deeply informed by her time studying with both Elenbaas and Austin Coppock, whose approaches continue to shape her philosophical and technical framework. Arin offers natal, horary, and electional astrology with a particular focus on predictive timing, remediation, and meaningful client support. Her approach blends ancient methods of contemporary insight, providing guidance that's both spiritually attuned and grounded in the reality of lived experience. With a professional background in counseling and social work, Arin brings a therapeutic sensibility to her readings. Her goal is simple: to help clients meet their lives with more self-understanding, more sovereignty, and more soul. Also, Arin hosts a podcast on Awakening Airwaves, Astrology with Arin. I'm going to encourage you guys to check her out. And she also has a written blog where she gives astrologic forecasts by sign and prescribes herbs and crystals and rituals to support us during transits and shifts. Great information. Again, I'm going to recommend that you check her out if you haven't already. Welcome, Arin, to the space.
Thank you so much, Lainey.
I was thinking in my meditation this morning, I was thinking about how we've all just like progressed during this year. And I was wondering if you were thinking about how you felt last year in this seat, because I thought about how I felt and how things are a little different.
Yeah, one thing that I would say for myself is I'm less nervous doing
Yeah,
this sort of thing than I was this time last year, right?
right.
I was pretty new to it and, still feel that I am quite green to podcasting, and public speaking is always, um, a little, nerve inducing.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, when you can break it down to chatting with a friend, I think that really helps, doesn't
It
it?
does, doesn't it? I mean, it just totally transforms it. And I have to remember, like, there are other people involved,
Right.
but that's a good thing too. But yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's been really exciting to grow and also to kind of like chart the growth because you can go back and look at, past podcasts, but also in a group, you can do that collectively, So it's been fun to see everyone and their growth, throughout this process. So it's been
Yeah.
really neat. Yeah. So, I am going to hand it off to you for you to tell us. I'm gonna give you permission to share your screen and things like that. But yeah, I'm gonna hand
Absolutely.
everything off to you for you to share with us.
Well, you have a lot happening this year, I feel like, Lainey. I think it's going to be a pretty big year for you. So I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Yeah,
I
let me get my
am.
notes.
Yes, too. And feel free to interject as we go. I have my own notes that I took while looking at your chart. And so I'll be sort of glancing back and forth as we talk, but feel free to interject. I don't remember exactly like what we talked about last year. Some of it may be along similar themes because I'm sure you have sort of threads that are weaving through both, through 2025, 2026, probably a couple of years into the future as well. So feel free to interject and like tell me how it's going, like
Yeah.
what progress has occurred on whatever front that I'm talking about as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to start on the screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So this is your chart, and I've removed some of the points that I sometimes put in. I'm trying to keep it somewhat simple. This is the ascendant degree. This is your what we call the MC or the midheaven. It's the highest point in the sky, and the IC would be opposite, and the descendant is opposite from the ascendant. And the rest we have here are the traditional seven planets, which are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And then we also have the outer planets, which are Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. This is Chiron. He is a planetoid, not quite an asteroid. He is a centaur. We can talk more about him. And then these are the lunar nodes. So these are our eclipse points. This is the North Node. The Vedic or Indian astrologers call him Rahu, the head
Mhm.
of the dragon. And this is the South Node. And the Vedic astrologers call him Ketu, the tail of the dragon. Okay. So anytime you have a newer full moon within around 15 degrees of one of the lunar nodes, it's not just a regular newer full moon, it is an eclipse. So those are the eclipse points. So that's what I've got in the chart today. And this is your chart, and we did discuss it somewhat previously. I am going to complicate things by throwing up the transits, the current
Mhm.
planets in the sky around the outside of your chart. Just preparing everybody before I do this, because it's like, oh, it gets to be a lot. Um, so here is where we're at right now. As we're talking, it is May 30th, and we are coming up on a full moon in Sagittarius. And you can see this forming. We have the sun here in Gemini,
Mhm.
and the moon here has just entered Sagittarius as we're talking, which I like very much. I think that's a lot of fun
Yeah.
and applying to an opposition with the moon or with the sun. And when the moon and the sun are opposite, that's a full moon, right?
Right.
So that's what we're coming up on right now.
Mhm.
So, another thing that I want to sort of weave in this time when we're talking is just a really simple Time Lord technique. And this is from the Hellenistic period. So it's a very, very old technique. I think it's a very juicy timing technique. There are many, I want to be clear about that. There are many timing techniques. I use many in my own practice, but there are so many that um, yeah, at some point it's too many tools in the toolbox. So you kind of have to pick which
Yeah.
ones you use. And if you're sitting in a 60 or even 90-minute consultation with a client, I can only use so many in that span of time. But this one, annual perfections, is what it's called, not perfections, profections, is one of my favorites because it's just so juicy. I think you just get so much bang for your effort.
Mhm.
Um, going to pull that up here. And then here we are, profections. So this will tell us that your last birthday, December 14th, 2025, you turned 48. Sorry, disclosure if you don't want to disclose
Wow,
your
here
age.
you put all my stuff out.
Put it out there. Um, you entered, as we do at any age that's divisible by 12, we come into a first house perfection. And for you, that's the sign of Gemini. So that means for this year through the end of 2026, your time lord is Mercury. So part of what that means is that I would pay special attention to Mercury retrogrades in the sky because they're likely to have a greater impact on you. And they very well may simply, as a Gemini rising person, you may find Mercury retrograde periods always quite stimulating, or even confusing, though you were
Mhm.
born with Mercury retrograde, which is why the number is red here. That means he's retrograde. So you may function a bit better under Mercury retrogrades than a lot of the rest of us do. However, this year especially, I would pay attention to those Mercury retrogrades. With Mercury as your time lord, again, I always bring it back to the natal planet, and you have a Mercury here in Capricorn, so very serious sort of Mercury. Here in the eighth house, very sort of deep thinking, research oriented, into psychological or spiritual inquiry, perhaps. And there may be conversations around transformation, truth, and sharing insights that come from lived experience. Again, because you have Mercury retrograde natally, I would guess that you have, or will have at least this year, a natural tendency to revisit, reconsider, reframe ideas over time.
Mhm.
And this year may really sort of bring those issues out. And it may encourage you to bring internal insights outward to be shared with others. It also implies that your voice is very important this year. And you may be, I would guess, sharing that with others. With Mercury as your time lord, I would also look at not only transits that Mercury is making in the sky, but transits that are being made to your natal Mercury. And one thing we've had going on really since early in the year is both Saturn and Neptune, that are at my transiting MC. So it's interesting we're talking about them. That's how these things work. Up here in Aries, and they are making a square aspect. This is a 90-degree aspect from Aries to Capricorn to your natal Mercury. So let's talk about Saturn first. Saturn is in his fall in Aries. So he is not the happiest here, not the best functioning, and can sort of represent, I think, really questioning, and especially with Neptune here, some dissolution of ideas, of previously held, things that you previously held as fact, may seem less so during this time. You may be questioning and realigning around belief systems and structures. What you previously took to be stable or secure may feel less so this year. And Saturn could bring some intellectual pressure to Mercury. There may be serious decision making that needs to be made. You may need to clarify commitments or confront doubts or limitations in your thinking. You're certainly being asked, I think, to take your own voice, your own opinions, and your own thinking more seriously this year. Because Aries is your 11th house where Saturn is hanging out, this pressure may arise through collaborations, audiences, community expectations, and your long-term goals. And at the same time, with Neptune here also in Aries, applying to square your Mercury, he won't actually make that exact aspect until 2028. However, you can see is only a couple of degrees away. Neptune just moves so slowly that it will take him 20 till 2028 to get there. He'll retrograde some in the meantime too. But I would say it's already felt. This is already active. So again, Saturn demands clarity, realism, and Neptune dissolves. Old mental frameworks and beliefs may be falling away or dissolving at this time. There may be dissolution and restructuring around your community, around groups of friends, around audiences. And together, I think there's a major reorientation, potentially in worldview or intellectual identity. So you may start to feel like some of your old ways of thinking no longer work, but there's a new framework emerging, and that emerging will likely take time. Okay.
Mhm.
Another really important thing that's happening for you, and I'm sure we touched on this last time we talked, is we have Uranus now in Gemini, and he will be here. He won't finish in Gemini until 2033. So he came in here sort of for keeps April 25th of 2026. Because you have Gemini rising, it's your first house of self, body, identity. And because you're also in a Gemini profection year, this is probably one of the most important transits that will be occurring for you over the next several years. Uranus is revolutionary. He is the great awakener and the great liberator. Now, sometimes, it's not always pleasant. Astrologers, especially traditional astrologers like myself, we have sort of categories for the traditional seven planets. We say that Venus and Jupiter are benefics, so they're fortunate. They bring good things generally. And Mars and Saturn are malefics. They're more challenging. The outer planets are less easy to put into such categorizations. And it's like, what is liberation? In general, we would think that's a positive thing. However, if you're attached to something and Uranus is trying to liberate it from you or liberate you from it, and you're like, no, I'm not done with that. Like, I need that. It can feel like things being torn from you also. So it can be pretty destabilizing. However, my experience with Uranus transits is, especially in the end, and looking back, you think, that was so needed. That was a sort of necessary revolution. So over this amount of time, really through like 2033, you may be reinventing your identity. You could be experimenting with new roles. You could be experimenting with your personal sense of style and how you look, how you present yourself to the outer world. There could also be unexpected opportunities coming to you. And I think this is especially true because Uranus will eventually oppose your Sagittarius stellium, which is where you keep your Venus, your natal Neptune, and your natal Sun. So this inherently highlights the axis between self and other. So there could be greater authenticity and freedom, especially in your relationships, your collaborations, and your client work. If you're working with clients, that's very much a first, seventh house relationship. So Uranus will not perfect his oppositions to your natal planets over here in Sagittarius until 2028 through 2031. However, as with Neptune, this is likely already starting to be felt and certainly will be felt over the rest of 2026. Okay, so changes, think changes to identity and changes to your relationships and how you relate to others. And those are tied together. When you change, how you relate to others changes, right?
Right.
Their expectations of you change. And what you need from others changes as you yourself change. So this is all sort of intertwined.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. We're not done yet.
Okay, okay. I think that makes sense because I remember the last time we talked and we were talking about transits, there was a lot of cleanup that I was doing. So I guess this to me makes sense in the next logical type of step. I cleaned up and cleared out. So now I'm ready to kind of like do some shedding, so to speak, and maybe change, a little bit.
Yep.
Um,
Start to emerge even. Yeah, I would say like things
yeah,
are starting to sort of crack open is
yeah,
what 2026 is likely to be about so that you can, the egg has to crack so you can
right.
sort of hatch from it.
Yeah. And then the learning of the new self, and also presenting that. And then because that is different from what it was, I'm sure that it's going to be some type of reaction with others. And what,
Yep.
like what you were saying, what I need from them is going to change. So it's just like an evolution from the inside out. So yeah, okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah.
All right. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is Jupiter. So, Jupiter, you've been having your Jupiter return because you have your natal Jupiter here in Cancer in exaltation. And transiting Jupiter has also been in his exaltation of Cancer for about the last year. He's about done with being in Cancer. We have Venus coming through in the sky right now, and this will perfect, I think, June 9th. She will meet him in the sky, give him a little kiss before before she goes into Leo. And then he will follow, not so far behind. He will follow at the end of June into Leo. I would guess and hope that this last year has been relatively good for your finances. And perhaps for examining your values, especially those that you keep sort of close to your heart, what's really meaningful and important to you in life, and for your sense of self-worth and your self-esteem.
Yeah.
When Jupiter goes into Leo, well, there are multiple things happening, but let's try and keep this relatively simple. The third house has much to do with communication. The third ninth axis is much about teaching, writing, can be about publishing, media, sharing your ideas, philosophy, and information knowledge with other people. So this will be accentuated for you. Jupiter will also begin, uh, he's making aspects in the sky in July, which are both flowing and tense and really accentuating these outer planets in their new places. So he's going to aspect all of them. And that's going to be pretty big. We're going to see it in the world around us, definitely. But for you personally, what Jupiter is really going to be doing is applying to conjoin your natal Mars, which you keep here in Leo. Mars is retrograde also, but he's here in Leo. And because Mars rules then your sixth house of Scorpio and your 11th house of Aries, I would expect a lot of this to do with your day to day work and effort, which is a sixth house topic, and your networks, audience, and community, which are 11th house topics. So I would say this Jupiter Mars conjunction, which is exact, you get one exact hit of this, and it's August 21st, 2026. So that's this year. And this transit should bring a surge of confidence and courage, increased visibility for your voice, opportunities to teach, speak, write, or publish, and potentially new collaborations or projects. And because Mars is retrograde in your chart, it may feel like a long developing potential sort of finally coming forward. So the timing of this suggests to me that the summer and early fall of 2026 could be a period of significant growth in your platform or creative output. Again, how you teach and share information in the world. I cannot help but notice that we have the second annual Awakening Conference coming up in September. And I believe you'll be teaching a master class at that. Am I right? You're
No.
not going to? Are you sure
No.
you don't want to? This could be a really good time. If you're not doing that, I would encourage you to really put yourself out there as sharing your knowledge and information with other people. I think you'll get potentially really good reception from your ideas and maybe build further collaborations um, and audience
Mhm.
around this time. And maybe part of it is just you coming to the conference and
Yeah, I'm
having
just
fun
like
with the rest of us too.
keep swimming. I'm just trying to like stay above right now. So
Well, that's very sixth house too. The ancients called it the house of slavery.
ugh,
And it is much about the daily grind, and I always think of it that sixth house thing is like all the things we do to stave off the entropy. So like working out, like meal prep, cleaning house, paying
yes.
bills, like all of these daily things, the daily day in and day out efforts that we
Yeah,
must make, things we do because we must
yeah,
is
yes.
very sixth house. All right. And then also what we're going to have, and I guess let me move the sky forward so that we can see some of this. There we are. Also, what we're going to have is the lunar nodes changing signs. So they have been in Virgo and Pisces for about the last year and a half. That's about 18 months is what the nodes spend in a sign. And so we've had eclipses bouncing back and forth between your fourth and 10th house. So this is much about home and career, work-life balance. Anytime you have eclipses on one of your angular axes, so your fourth, 10th, or your first, seventh, it can be destabilizing, to say the least. We get major beginnings and major endings in those areas. So you may have had a lot going on with both home, family, and work, your obligations out in the world. So the good news is, with the nodes moving off that axis, you're probably going to get some relief in those areas. Things might slow down and stabilize, right? I'm sure. And then what's going to get this now major change, major beginnings, major endings is this third ninth axis, which, like we said, it has much to do with communication, teaching, belief systems, um, and learning and teaching, sharing with others, potentially publishing, if that's something you're interested in doing. Also, podcasting, very both third and ninth house thing. Um, and yeah, so as a Gemini rising person, I think this is likely to be more comfortable for you because, your voice, knowledge, writing, teaching, media are things that come quite naturally to Gemini, being a very curious air sign. As Rahu, the North Node, moves into your ninth, it really emphasizes exploration of new philosophies, teaching international or cross-cultural experiences. If you are planning a trip, this is, a great time, I think, to take it. It may really change your worldview. Teaching or studying spiritual traditions is very sort of on topic as well. And you may find that you reach wider audiences than ever before in doing so. Okay. We do
Mhm.
have, this is an eclipse, and this is August 12th. And so, because this new moon is within, like I said, 9 degrees in this case, but less than 15 degrees away from one of the lunar nodes, we get a solar eclipse. And this eclipse is actually directly opposite your natal moon. And it's very close to your IC, which stands for Imam Coli. It's Latin. It basically means the root of the chart. If the MC, the midheaven, is the very highest point in the sky at the moment of your birth, the IC is the very lowest point in the sky. It's underground. So it represents foundations, home, roots, family, emotional foundations, and inner emotional states. So this could bring emotional turning points, moments of heightened awareness, where something in the external world reflects an internal shift. The moon naturally has some rulership over mother's home and family and our sort of nurturing side. So you may see some things there, but the moon in your chart also, in the ninth, much to do with, again, spirituality, philosophy, teaching, and learning. And she also rules your second house. And your second house is your income, your sense of self-worth, your values, that which sustains you. So material sort of income also and finances. So there may be big shifts that sort of weave those topics together. You may find that you have, hopefully increased income from things like speaking, writing, teaching, publishing. And it may affect your worldview, where you're traveling, even where you live. I don't know if you're thinking about moving, but that's a possibility also. Okay.
Good stuff.
You may be also, I think, releasing in general some old ways of asserting yourself, especially then you'll have eventually the South Node coming for your Mars also, and embracing a more expansive emotional and philosophical path. And, with eclipses, it always sort of feels fated in a way, like things will change and you'll think, maybe I didn't plan that, but in hindsight, it couldn't have gone any other way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that with eclipses. So you can expect that. All right. And we do have also Pluto in Aquarius. He is sort of coming for your moon. That won't happen. He won't actually get to your moon because he moves so slowly. He's a little heavy guy that's, way on the outside of our solar system. So he won't actually get there until 2036. So I know that seems like a long ways away right now, 10 years, but I think you and I both at our age, like 10 years can go like that.
It'll come before you know it.
Right. It'll be here before you know it. And once again, these outer planets, I tend to think that we sort of feel them once they get into the sign.
Mhm.
So you may be feeling this already. Pluto transits to the moon. Pluto always brings the transformation. He always wants us to look at any shadows that we have, and confront those. But Pluto to the moon is often about emotional identity, beliefs around security, and the way one nurtures and protects both themselves and others. Because it's happening in your ninth house, I would say, once again, it's suggesting that over time, your philosophy, worldview, and teaching role may undergo profound transformation. Um, and I also think, Pluto is just he's a heavy little guy, like I said. So wherever he goes, it just becomes of much greater importance. He changes the center of gravity in one's life. So these ninth house activities, around like you as a spiritual teacher, potentially, um, just may take on a lot more importance
Mhm.
in your life than they ever have previously. That would sort of be my guess as far as your sort of 10-year trajectory with that transit. And finally, I wanted to mention Chiron. I did leave him in the chart for a reason. He is, so Chiron, as I mentioned, he's a centaur. If you look at the myth, and I'll spell him for you, Chiron, for anybody who wants to Google Chiron. But in Greek mythology, most of the centaurs were sort of wild party animals, right? They like love to hang out with Dionysus and drink wine and, and get frisky. But Chiron is kind of the exception to this rule. He was a teacher, a healer, a philosopher, an astrologer. And so he taught a lot of the various, characters in Greek mythology, much of what they knew, especially about healing and herbalism and astrology. And he also sustained a wound, and there's always like different
Mhm.
versions of every Greek myth because they were handed down orally, right? It's an oral tradition. So it's like a game of telephone. But
Yeah.
generally, the idea of how he got this wound was that Heracles, or Hercules as we would know him, was one of his students. And I think it was by accident, but after Medusa was beheaded, the blood of the Gorgon, he dipped some arrows into it. And there was like by accident, he accidentally shot Chiron in a leg with one of these arrows. And this would have killed any like normal mortal, but Chiron was not mortal. He was immortal. And although Chiron was a healer, he could never heal his own wound. And because of that, he lived in suffering for a very long time. He was able to, alleviate his own suffering to some certain extent, but never fully heal it until he asked, I believe, Zeus or the gods to relieve him of his suffering. And there's again different versions about how exactly that myth goes. And he was placed up into the sky as the constellation of the centaur. And then also, this is a planetary body who is something like a dwarf planet or an asteroid. So where Chiron is in the chart and where Chiron goes in the chart often reflects how we ourselves feel wounded, a wound that sort of never fully resolves. And however, I always think of the myth, the only ways that we can really heal others is because we've been through some things ourselves, right?
Wow.
And we're more often able to heal each other in this way than ourselves. And so, all of us, because of Chiron's sort of speed, this is a midlife transit. We all undergo our Chiron return, which is what you're coming up on here, because you have Chiron in natally in early Taurus, and he is returning to Taurus really for the first time since the 80s, I think 1984. Yeah, so it's a pretty big shift, and he will dip in here. I think it's the end of June, or is it July? Anyway, it's coming up here this summer. And this is August 12th again. So you're very close. And then he'll retrograde back into Aries for a while and then he'll come back. He's pretty slow moving. So everybody gets this around the age of 50-ish, give or take a year or two, depending, because he has a pretty ecliptical orbit. So it's not quite the same for everyone, but it's a midlife transit.
Mhm.
It's much about confronting unconscious patterns, especially in your 12th house. That's going to be true. Spiritual healing, releasing old grief or isolation, and reclaiming compassion and wisdom. Chiron in Taurus, I think for all of us, is going to bring up wounds or anxieties, fears around scarcity, material security. So there could be something here about releasing those sort of fears. Um, I wonder about you spending more time as a guide, teacher,
Mhm.
healer for other people, and potentially releasing fears around material security.
Mhm.
Because, I know too, like it's hard to let go of like, I need that job. I can't do
Right.
this full time. Um,
Yes.
and these things.
Amen. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
again, this is a long-term transit.
Yes.
So, I'm thinking over the next decade,
Mhm.
but this will sort of start to take shape. So you can sort of expect
Yeah.
to feel a lot of that.
Yeah.
So that's largely what I have for you. But I think,
Yeah.
to integrate what we're looking at here is a reinvention of identity
Mhm.
and your use of your own voice, major expansion in the realms of communication and teaching, a shift toward philosophical and spiritual practices, teaching, learning, being more important for you and
Mhm.
taking up more of your time and more
Yeah.
space in your life, and some deep healing and spiritual integration to go with it.
Yeah. Wow.
What do you think, lady?
There's so many things. I mean, it's all good, but it's like my brain is like lit up. And I'm so many things are coming in at one time. I'm gonna try to like slow it down. But like I'm just amazed by how because you just read this, like, like the way that you interpret it is just amazing. Let me just say. And how you link everything together. Um, and like we go into one part and we look at that really, and then we come back out and we look how it affects the whole, and it's just amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're
I,
welcome.
I think
Astrology is amazing. Let
it
me just say
is.
that. Like astrology, I very much felt like it found me. It's not that I found it, it found me when I sort of needed it most. And I love sharing it with others. So
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you.
letting me do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just ties everything together like in a story, where there's like one theme, but there's so many different like sub stories, like
Yeah.
what you've gone through in your life, how you can transmute that and heal yourself and others at the same
Mm.
time, fulfilling your dreams and all the things like it's a story where everything is woven in. Um, and you do a great job of interpreting
Oh,
it.
thank
So
you.
thank you.
I would say, like, yeah, learning to put the pieces together is the practice that I've been
Yeah.
spending nearly 10 years on. So, yeah, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
And in consultation with clients, we often do talk a lot more about sort of backstory. I don't want to
Yeah.
put you on the spot in like a public forum to necessarily go there.
Yeah.
So I just kind of relied on like what I already know
Yeah.
of your life and trajectory.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do. That's what I love to do with clients.
I love that. I have a couple questions. So reel me in if I need to be reeled in. But because just sitting with you and having this conversation about my chart, it triggers a lot of different questions and things like that. So I'm thinking about myself, but I'm also thinking about those who may be joining us. Um, What would you suggest? I know last time you suggested that people get a chart done. Um, but after that, and I know you're a tutor and all of that, so and give us all of your resources how we can, get in touch with you and things like that. But what would be your next suggestion for people who are interested in learning and being able to see their story, in the
Mhm.
theme and their chart and like do what we're doing, essentially, small scale, because you're 10 years in, But
Yeah.
what would you be your suggestion after you get your chart done in this evolution of learning about your chart and things like that?
Well, it really does, depend on what you want to do and how deep you want to go. And if you're
Mhm.
interested in if your primary concern is simply understanding your own chart, or if you feel called to share it with others. There are, I, I've, I'm a graduate of two separate 3-year programs that I've tutored in both. And I can certainly make recommendations as far as teachers. My number one suggestion would probably be my teacher, Austin Coppock. He is a gift to the astrological community, truly. And so I can definitely steer people that way. I would say my website's the best way to find me. I do offer individual teaching. I've also had clients who come see me every month or two for a year or something, to really just track what's going on in their own chart so they can learn to sort of read it better themselves. Or that I think that's great if you do feel like you're going through a really transitional period. For all of us, some years are bigger than others, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and so if you feel like your life is getting rocked, especially hard with what's going on in the sky, because there's a lot going on in the sky right now,
Yeah.
it's a great time to get a reading. I myself always go and see another astrologer, usually at least once a year, simply because also reading your own chart is not always the easiest.
Yeah.
It's often, other people will see things that you're like, oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How did I not notice that? We all have our own shadows and our own blind spots. And
Yeah.
so having somebody else read your chart, I think, is really invaluable, frankly. But yeah, anybody, and then I post weekly horoscopes, which I think people, can help you sort of track and feel into um, the motions
Mhm.
of the sky. I do those on Instagram mostly. And then my lunar blog, every new and full moon is a great time, I think, to sort of check in. How is this showing up in my life? How am
Mhm.
I feeling this? Um, yeah, and it's amazing to sort of start tracking that way. That's usually, I think, how people get hooked, or how I did. Once I started tracking and I saw it, like with and
Mhm.
experienced it
Yeah.
as real and profound in my own life, I was awestruck. And then I got the
Yeah.
bug.
You're so funny. Oh, yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. A wealth of
Absolutely.
knowledge. So thank you. I completely forgot about the crystal components because I was so zoned in before you were
Oh,
saying.
yes, let's talk about that too.
Um, well, so for last year, you did warn me. You said you're gonna wanna get you a little grounding crystal ally group. And so I did. Um, so some of those transits that I went through where I was cleaning house and things like that, some of the crystals that I found that helped me ground. Of course, hematite I keep on deck all the time because I just love the way it
Mm,
just brings you down all almost immediately. And black tourmaline is always a favorite. So that, and then lepidolite. It's like, and it's like, I don't know. Lithium? It's lithium. That's what it is. It just is lithium component. It just a lot of that. I mean, jewelry, carrying it in my pocket, like everything I can do.
mhm.
So I think, and then basalt was one that
Mm.
I use as well. And this is just it's like the when you get a massage and they use the heated rocks on you, this is what they use. It kind of sucks up all
Ah.
negativity. So I love it because I use it for myself to like suck up my own negativity. Sometimes you wake up
Hmm.
in a blue mood, you know? So
Hmm.
those are a couple of the grounding crystals that really helped me through this past year. Obsidian, of course, black obsidian. So yeah, just grateful for their help and their service.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think with Uranus going through your first house in an air sign in Gemini, which
Mhm.
is mutable air, so it's very quick moving. The curiosity of Gemini is sort of its strength, but it can get diffused really easily.
Yeah.
So I think continuing to ground is important. You have spiritual practices, which I think will serve you very well during this time. So I think that's going to continue to be important.
Yeah.
I love many that you mentioned. Smoky
Yeah.
Quartz is also one of my favorites.
Yeah. I love
Um,
it. Yeah, I love
and
it.
I've been working recently with, is it Shungite or Shungite?
Shanghai
Um,
is good too.
Shungite.
Yeah.
I really like that
I
one. And
love
I feel
Shanghai.
like you said about the basalt, I feel like it just sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it like sort of blocks or sucks out, but I
It
still
does a
feel
little bit of
armored
both.
when I
Yeah.
wear that.
Yeah. I have it on my phone because it does it weeds out the pollution, the radioactive pollution from
Yeah,
electronics too. It's just so good.
it is.
Yeah.
I
Um
got myself a bracelet and I just love that thing. I just,
yeah.
yeah.
And you can put it in water and drink it too. They
Oh,
say,
can you?
yeah. So it's a great. I love Shanghai. What was I gonna say? It'll come back. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So what I'm hearing from you is that I should add more crystal allies to the grounding allies. Like we're just going to fill out
Yes.
that section this year. That's what I'm hearing, and that's fine.
I think grounding is like, yeah, going to continue to be
Yeah.
important, but I also think that you would be well served by leaning into the sort of third, ninth house activities
Mhm.
of, supporting your voice
Yeah.
and supporting your vision. And I'm thinking Labradorite is one that you already love, which is a
I
very
do.
Sagittarius, I feel like, affiliated stone.
Yeah.
I think that that will be really good for you.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for like supporting voice?
I love soda light. So I would suggest soda light as another good supporting your voice and your throat chakra. Blue calcite, I think is good. And I had a Kanyonite, blue Kanyonite, I love.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little piece here. And lapis lazuli. Don't we love that? Another
I'm
one.
wearing that right now,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
So yeah, aquamarine. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like so calming, you know. So
It
even when
is.
even when you have to like express something that's very strong, you can use this and it can ease it, you know. So I
I
love that.
love that for you because I
Yeah.
see aquamarine as somewhat of a Saturn stone, even though it's not, black. It's not
Yeah.
tradition, one of the more traditional Saturn stones. But it is so like sort of grounding. And then yeah, you
Yeah.
do have the blue of the throat chakra there. That might be a really especially great one to
Yeah.
lean into.
Yeah. I love it. Actually this piece I keep in my denim cape. There's a pocket that's sewn up, and so I put pieces so I
I
can
love
wear it.
that.
I can have it around
Rock
me at work.
pockets. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's what that little pocket in your jeans is for too.
That's what it's for. All right. They don't have
Yeah.
to label it for us all the time. We
Your
already know,
rocks in
right?
there. Little pocket
Um,
buddies.
yeah. And I used to put them because some people can put them in the bra. And I always like try to do that and I lose all the time. I lose.
I was in public once and had one fall out, like, and that was embarrassing. So I tend not to do that anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Do you
I'm
remember
scared of
which
it now.
stone it was?
Trying to think. It might have been rose quartz.
Oh, that's appropriate. Spilling out of your heart. That's
Yeah, I think
cute.
I was like focusing on self-love at the time.
Oh, that's
I like
cute.
bent over or something and it hit the ground and it was loud.
Oh,
It didn't break, which I was
good,
kind of
good.
surprised of, but yeah.
That's cute. I love that. I love that. So yeah, in terms of Amazonite, I like also. It's
Hmm.
another, and it's very soothing too. Like this is
Yes.
my hand motion for ocean. I'm sorry. So yeah, so I like Amazonite. It's very soothing as well. Um, helps with
Yeah.
communication and easing the emotions um, associated with that. So yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
love that.
I do. I love it too. And you were talking about moving more into your voice and me moving more into my voice and my power. And so I'm thinking like, okay, which crystal would I like for that? And I thought about they call it K Sarah, like K Sarah, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it helps you with like direction, making up your mind in terms of what direction you want to go into, like paths and things like that. So I always think about this when I think about like what I want to do in life and that direction and what that looks like. I always think about this. So I'm definitely going to be working with this, I think, this year. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Maybe I need one of those. I need a pendulum made of that, maybe.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, for
I'll
my
send it. I'll
Libra
send you it.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. Labradorite, like you said, I love I could not have enough. I swear I can't. Swear. It does wonders. So I think I'll be working with that as well.
Yes.
And I know this is one of your favorites as well, Septarian.
Oh no, I don't think I know that
No.
one.
You know
Mm-mm.
why? Because I think last time we were talking about aragonite, and this
Yes.
has aragonite in it.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
but I really, this is,
I do like aragonite, yeah.
yeah. So it gives you that kind of grounding that the aragonite does, but also it has calcite in it as well, and an element that helps you with speaking. So it kind of like it grounds you at your root, but it also comes and helps you pick your words wisely, and helps you kind of express yourself calmly. So I think with that whole sharing and teaching element that we kept talking about, I think
Yeah.
this is going to help with that. Because I don't always like, I'm not always going in that direction. Sometimes I am, but not all the time. So I think that this was a great reminder for me that that's somewhere that I should go, you know,
Mhm.
um, making the time and the space for that is going to be beneficial for you. That's what I heard when you were
Yeah.
like, you should make the time for this.
Yeah. I think you should. I
Yeah,
really think
yeah.
you should. I think it'll pay off, at least in the long run. I do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, that's what the chart says, right?
Hmm.
What else? We talked about bloodstone too, and I don't have mine here, but I think that would be also a great stone to use in terms of like finding your way. Yeah, that so has that
Yes.
warrior type of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think of Bloodstone as a Mars ruled stone, probably for obvious reasons. And with Jupiter and K2, the south node of the moon, coming for your natal Mars, I think those are sort of, in a way, contrary
Hmm.
energies because K2 is much about like emptying out, and
Hmm.
Jupiter always wants to sort of inflate or make things
Hmm.
bigger.
Yeah.
But what they do have in common is a spiritualizing effect.
Hmm.
And I think there can be some purification of
Hmm.
your martial energies. So I don't think there should be a loss of vitality, but there may be sort of a letting go of,
Yeah.
some of how you go about doing
Yeah.
things in the world, um, and an evolution of such. So yeah, I think a stone to support
Yeah.
that martial
That
drive.
courage. The courage to
Yes.
do so. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
courage to do so, exactly, could be really helpful. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. I did also wanted to know, slightly, I'm slightly shifting away from myself, look. But did you have anything to share with others about some of the transits that we are currently in or coming up and things that they could do and maybe some allies or some herbs or like help us.
Yeah. Well, buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
July looks to be major. I think I would say for June, which we're headed
Mhm,
into, and I'm guessing this will probably post in June, is probably one of the gentler months of
mhm.
2026. So that's the good news.
Yeah.
That Venus Jupiter conjunction in Cancer on June 9th looks to be very sort of cozy, even if a bit protective. I think it's a
Mhm,
time to sort of spend time with the people closest to you, especially women with Venus
mhm.
there, sort of the women and mother figures, sister figures that you love.
Mhm.
And take a break if you can
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
June for your nervous system. If you've got to take a break from the news, do what you've got to do. And then in July, we have or we have Mars coming into Gemini to conjoin Uranus, which historically for the US is very, very big. This looks like major volatility,
Mhm.
frankly. Um, we've had these in periods in the US history around like the Revolution, 1776 revolution, I'm talking around the Civil War, around World War II, and things like this. So these are like major turning points. What we also have happening in July, these outer planets, Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, and of course, Uranus in Gemini that I mentioned. Are making their sort of exact hits of these
Mhm.
trines and sextiles. And then we have, as I mentioned, Jupiter coming into Leo. He will oppose Pluto,
Mhm.
um, which could very much look like some power struggles, but he'll also aspect by sort of friendlier, more harmonious aspects, those other outer planets that I mentioned. And altogether, it creates a French astrologer named Andre Barbeau, who is no longer with us, but he actually predicted the pandemic of 2020. Um, and he looked at this configuration and he said, this is a shift in humanity. And he actually had a lot of hope
Yeah.
for this sort of new era that we're
Mhm.
moving into. So I'll throw that out there. There's reason
Yeah.
to be hopeful, but that doesn't mean the transitional period is going to be easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so what we're getting, he called it the basket. Other
Mhm.
astrologers have called it a cradle. I think it might be helpful to think about what you want to put in your basket.
Mhm.
What do you want to take with you into this new era? So think about those things. July is going to be very dynamic. We may not recognize some things in
Mhm.
August after some of this is over. And I know 2026 has already been a ride, so is
Yeah.
2025, right? Um, but July is really pivotal. So I would say yes, ground yourself, ground yourself, ground yourself.
Young ground.
And take care of that nervous system.
Yeah.
For herbs, I really like milky oat
Mhm.
tops.
Mhm.
And skullcap can be
Mhm.
really delightful. Catnip is really nice.
Yeah.
Lavender. And
Mhm.
there are so many ways to use these herbs.
Mhm.
A tincture or glycerin is really handy
Yeah.
to just drop in your mouth or in a little
Yeah.
glass of water. Tea, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, Baths,
Yeah.
especially with things like lavender, can be really soothing to the
Yeah.
nervous system. So
Mhm.
that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
And I really am attracted right now to shungite, and I think maybe
Yeah.
there's something there too with like you and I both have to be on social media a certain extent for part of what we do, but like all like the manic scrolling, doom scrolling, things like this are not necessarily good for your nervous system and potentially even more so. When we get into these times of enormous change, you feel like I have to stay on top of what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say allow yourself space and time to
Take
take
your breaks.
breaks.
Mhm.
If you just cannot deal
Yeah.
with it today. It's okay to just completely unplug for a day
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah. It's not going to stop. Trust me. It's not going to
It's
stop
not
if
going
you're
to
not
stop.
there watching.
If something is truly affecting your immediate life, like you're gonna see it with or without a phone. Like you and
Yeah.
I both lived in the 90s.
Yes.
We didn't have phones. We
Yes.
still knew what time it was, you know.
Exactly. And we made it here. Like,
Right. Right. We
yeah.
survived.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Mhm.
sort of my advice. Know when to turn some things off and really take good care of your nervous system because I think
Mhm.
it's going to be really challenged over the next couple of months, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, maybe think of it, I like the cradle analogy too,
Mhm.
because I kind of feel like what's happening is some sort of birth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not easy for those of
No.
us who've been through it. It's called labor for a reason.
Yeah. I haven't been through it, but yeah. I've
Yeah,
been
and it
in
will
the
change you
room.
permanently as a human. You're not
Yeah.
the same on the other side.
Yeah.
Um, However, it's beautiful, right? And
Absolutely.
it can bring something truly beautiful into the world.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
think that's much of what the astrology of 2026 is happening. And it will be an ongoing process, much like for you.
Yeah.
I don't think we're really on the other side of what's happening until around 2032, 2033.
Talk about
Um,
buttercup.
Right. So now is not the time to like burn your nervous system completely
Yeah.
out because
Right.
now is the time to pace yourself
Yeah.
as
Pace
best you
yourself.
can.
Yeah. Take the baths. The herb recommendations. You can do a smoke bowl too and get out in nature. Take
Yeah.
your crystals out in nature and sit there. Think about stuff. Rub them on you. Like, and
Yes. If you're blessed to live around trees, go
yeah.
hang out with them, do some forest bathing,
Yeah.
hug one. I go hug the tree in my front yard. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy. It's
No,
okay.
they're
I
out there
might be a
hugging your tree
little.
when you're not there. I think this is how she did it. Just joking. But thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. So we all need to have our grounding crystals too on deck. So I can put a little listing of those that we talked about in this episode in the description so people can get ready, get ready, get ready. But I
Yes.
appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna look at my notes and start preparing myself. So I appreciate so
Absolutely.
much. Yeah, it's a wonderful tool. Um, I did want to talk or give you a chance to talk about your horary astrology.
Yes. All right,
Um,
let's dive into that. I've got to
yeah,
prepare
maybe just give
chart.
us a brief like description of what it is for those who don't know or not familiar with it. Yeah. Please.
Yes, absolutely. So horary is its own branch of astrology. It is so different than natal astrology. It really has nothing to do as far as like when you were born. So even if you don't know your birth time, which you really, the more exact, the better for natal astrology, knowing your birth time, you can still ask a horary question. And horary questions are people typically ask them about pretty big events in life. They're typically yes or no questions. I will definitely steer people to my website, astrologywitharin.com. I have a lot of information on there, like what, is my question appropriate for horary astrology? And I give examples. But a whole lot of them are about relationship.
Mhm.
Will I have a relationship with this person that I just
Yeah.
met and are feeling vibes with? Will I get the house? Will I get the job? Um, should I stay where I am or move to this other city? These sort of lots of times major questions that one has. Horary astrology can answer that. Horary refers to the hour, where that's where the word comes from, the root of the word. And so what you do and what I asked you to do when you asked me this horary question is really sit
Mhm.
with what you're thinking about until the question, because a lot of times it's like, well, I want to know what's going to happen with this, but it's like, what really is my question?
Yeah.
Like, what really is it? Like, as far as actionable on my part, like, is it, it's not just what should I do in this situation? That's usually like our immediate sort of nervous system reaction.
Mhm.
So, what I ask people to do is sit with it until you're certain of what the question really is and that you have it clear in your mind. And then that's the moment that you want to send me your question. And
Mhm.
people can do that through my website. And then what I do as the astrologer is I cast a chart for the moment that I receive your question. So it's going
Mhm.
to be in my time zone, in my location, wherever I am when I receive the question. But if like in our modern world, it will be electronically time stamped, right? So that's the moment that I'm going to cast the chart for. And then we read the chart and it answers the question. And I know there are probably a lot of people thinking there's no reason that should work. Well, there's no reason that any astrology should work, yet it does. And it's because we
Yeah.
live in a magical universe we are part of.
Right.
That's my theory as far as why it works anyway. But it absolutely does. It has a very rich history stretching back to medieval times and probably even before then, frankly. So people have been practicing this sort of astrology for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And it can work very accurately. It's amazing the way it speaks. So, should we look at your horary
Yes.
question or the
Yeah.
chart for it? Do you want to share what it was that you asked?
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm like, what did I ask? I'm joking. I have been going back and forth about getting an animal. I've always loved pets. But I just didn't know if right now would be a great time for me to do that. So that was my question. Will I be happy if I get a pet?
Hmm. Okay, so this was the chart for the moment that you sent me your question. And it was March 18th, so it's a little while back now, when we were chatting, and it was 12:30 p.m. my time, right? And so I cast it again for my time and my location. Um, One might notice, or one might not, that I do use a different house system for horary than I do for natal astrology. That's simply because of the tradition or the school that I was taught in. But different astrologers use different techniques. So, the way that I would read this chart is I'm going to assign the ruler of the ascendant degree, which is 6 degrees of Cancer. The ruler of that will be the moon, and that will be assigned to you. Okay, so you are the moon up here in the 10th house, which is interesting because 10th is the most public place in the chart. And here we are talking about your question very
Yeah.
publicly, right? So you are the moon here in Pisces, applying to the sun. So this is very close to a new moon, right? Which I think is interesting. And you're talking about this sort of new chapter in life, potentially getting a pet. And then for a pet, I would look to the sixth house. Many of the ancient astrologers say any animal that's smaller than a goat, which, is very funny and like seems arbitrary, goes in the sixth house, and large animals, anything larger than a goat, so like a horse, a donkey, an
Yeah.
elephant, will go in the 12th house. I assumed that you're talking about an animal smaller than a goat.
Yeah, but I'm like, what does that mean? Okay, I'm gonna let you talk.
Yeah, larger animals would be more like beasts of burden sort of thing than what we would consider as pets.
Yeah.
But yeah, in modern astrology, also, we generally put the topic of pets as a sixth house
Um,
topic. So, thus, I assign the ruler of the sixth house cusp, which is 4 degrees of Sagittarius, to the pet. And the ruler of Sagittarius is Cancer, or sorry, Jupiter, who is here
mhm,
in Cancer. So, this is very interesting. Jupiter is in his exaltation in Cancer. This is his happy place, right? He
mhm.
doesn't get any happier than he does in Cancer. So, I think this is super interesting and implies to me that there is nowhere your pet would rather be than with you in your house. here in your first house. He is as happy as he gets. The other thing it implies when we find a planet in another planet's sign, we say that he has reception for that planet. And in horary, that really directly translates to affinity. So we could say that because Jupiter is in the moon sign, that Jupiter really, really likes you. So your pet, your potential future pet, really, really likes you, Lainey.
Mhm.
And as we noted, the moon is here in Pisces, and Pisces, along with Sagittarius, at least by traditional astrology, which is what I practice, is ruled by Jupiter. So the moon is in Jupiter's sign.
Mhm.
So we can say that the moon and Jupiter in this chart have mutual reception, which means they both really, really, really like each other.
Mhm.
And honestly, that's all I need to see. Like,
Yeah.
that's the horary. Like,
That's
the
yes,
answer
yes.
is yes. It's a very, very clear yes. You will be
Oh,
happy if you
that
get a
is so
pet.
cool.
And the pet could not be happier than to be with you.
Yay.
That's
That's
why I was like, this is so cute. Like,
yeah.
it's been a long time since I've seen a horary quite this cute.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
oh,
pretty
that warms my
adorable.
heart. That warms my heart. I'm ready. I'm
Are
ready.
you? I
Yeah.
was gonna ask you, like, have you gotten a pet yet?
Not
Not
yet,
yet.
but like I've started to like study like different breeds and things like that, in terms of what would be most compatible for me and the way I live and things like that. So, at first I was set on like a Pomeranian because that was my last dog and I love
Hmm.
Pomeranians, but I was like, maybe something new, like, right? Something
Hmm.
different.
Well,
So,
I think, it's always best to research before you get a pet. I
yeah.
have an aquatic turtle that I got in 2006, so don't get an aquatic turtle unless you're committed.
Why? What is this turtle doing?
He's hanging out. I'm like, you're gonna outlive me at this rate. To ask my son, will you take the turtle? Put the turtle in my will. But yeah, just my point is simply it's always very wise to
Mhm.
research thoroughly before
Yeah,
you choose to get a pet.
yeah,
But you doing that is also just remembering from the chart that Mercury is conjunct the North Node, and there can be this sort of obsession with information.
yeah,
So that makes a lot of sense too, in that chart.
yeah.
But yeah, but you doing that is I think makes it that much more likely that your pet will love being with you
Mhm.
because you will be right for one another, right? We
Mhm.
see that mutual reception. Your lifestyles will align, your needs will align, and it will be very well taken care of.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's so good. It warms my heart. That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, people can book with you through your website, right? And we're going to have all of that information for them.
Yes.
And they can,
And for horary, actually, I just do that all by email.
oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty simple. Like I said, I ask that you read the information I have about horary, make sure that the question is very clear to you. And I always tell people, make sure that you're willing to accept whatever
Yeah.
the answer is. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, right?
Yeah. So if
If
John
you
is
are
not interested in you,
set,
you need to go ahead.
right? If you don't want to hear that this relationship isn't going to work out, that's maybe not the best question
Yeah.
for horary. Like you have to really want the answer and be willing to accept it. But then yeah, send me your question and I will respond and send you a copy of the chart along with my analysis of it. And then you always can email me back if you have
Yeah.
specific questions. It's a pretty easy process, actually, and I
Yeah.
really like doing it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's exciting. That's a great service. I'm thinking now, like the ones you're talking about for love. Yeah, you would want to just, so his name is like really
Right.
quickly. It's kind of okay.
Right. And probably not, if somebody you like just met
Right,
either.
right.
Like I ran into this guy at the gas station and didn't get his name.
Is it gonna
Um, is it
work?
gonna work? Well, are you ever gonna meet again? Um, But like, if you've gone on a few dates with somebody and you're
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm getting good vibes, is this worth investing in? Sort
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
yeah.
these sort of questions are really common. Astrologers joke about love and money. These are the topics that clients come to us with most often. And the questions that I ask, people that I go to too.
Yeah.
So
We're
there's
all
no
the
shame in
same.
that whatsoever, right? We're all human.
Yeah.
But
Um,
those are
and
often
yeah, and
questions.
I found it helpful. I'm sorry if I cut you.
Oh, you're okay.
I found it helpful that you had examples too on your website of good horary questions to pose. So if you're, questioning about how or, what to ask, she has examples, which I found very helpful. So yeah. Yes. Oh my God, I like don't want this to end. It's so good.
You're sweet.
Oh my gosh, this has been so enlightening, Erin. And I know I'm gonna have to go back and watch a couple times and get all of but oh my gosh, just chock full of information, very valid, very needed information. And the way that, that you read the chart is like laying it out. Like I said, like you're reading your own story, and there's an ending kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I find that
Yeah, like
very
I said,
interesting.
astrology is amazing. Like
Yeah.
the charts tell a story. It's kind of its own language. And then once you learn to read it, it's, quite natural. But I know like watching somebody else like, read these figures around a wheel, it's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
it
like codes
speaks.
and you're yeah, I love it. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Did you have anything, like we're gonna have all your information so people
Yeah.
can get in touch with
No,
you
I would
because
just say check out my website. If you're feeling the shifts and the vibes, like I said, I really love doing my lunar blog. It's almost like sort of my own journal, and honestly, it holds me accountable for writing because I am not very good at being consistent with journaling. So my lunar blog kind of is me writing about what's going on in the sky, what I'm thinking about for myself, and then also my suggestions for others. I always have tarot pulls and horoscopes for all 12 signs. You can read for your rising sign, your sun, your moon, really whatever you want to. Suggestions for lunar rituals. And yeah, and I always suggest both a gemstone or crystal and an herb for that I think will be supportive for the lunar cycle on there as well. And that's all on my website. So yeah,
yeah.
you can find me there.
Check her out, guys. Check her out. Always good stuff. Always. I'm always learning something, and that is so good. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
joining
having
us.
me.
I hope you'll come back. I'm not going to put pressure on you today. Look, but we'll come back to that. But it's always such a pleasure to share space with you and learn from you. Thank you so much, Erin.
Ditto. Ditto. I always enjoy our chats. So thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Yes, definitely check Erin's blog out and check her podcast out also on Awakening Airwaves. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to Awakening Airwaves, please do. There is a masterclass coming up in September, so please look out for information on that and how you can get your tickets and things like that. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be just as good as the first one, if not better. Right? So
Absolutely.
we are going to close out with that. Again, please check out Erin's blog and also feel free to contact her with any questions and for any of the services that she talked about today. And I'm sure you'll find a couple on her website that she didn't have a chance to talk about today. She's just a wealth of information. Thanks again, Erin. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Reiki Rocks and Reflections. I'm your host, Lainey Wu. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Erin. I know I did. I learned so much. Again, feel free to check her out, her website, her blog, all of the things. Thanks, Erin. And we will see you next time on Reiki Rocks and Reflections. Bye.
Bye.